Welcome to UND Insider Weekly alongside Tom Miller and Brad Schlossman from the Grand Forks Herald and Paul Ralston from UND Athletics. I'm Tim Hennessy. Miller and Schloss come back. They've made it back from Denver finally, huh, boys?
Barely.
Our spots weren't filled in our absence.
Yeah.
Well, let's start talking about the women's hockey series this past weekend. Phil, the Bowl went great on Friday night with 5,600 some fans, I believe. But the game not so good. What happened there, Brad?
Well, I think special teams were the key to this game here. Minnesota went 3 for 3 on the power play. UND had 2 seconds of power play time in the last 2 seconds of the game, so essentially no power plays, and that's a huge part of the game. And you know, when you're playing shorthanded against the best team in the country, giving them an extra man advantage doesn't help out too much. And we saw that this weekend. Gopher scored on their first 5 power play chances of the weekend.
5 straight power play goals. Well, 2 things. Obviously, you got to kill penalties a little better against a quality team like that, but you got to stay out of the box, obviously.
Yeah, you got to try to stay out of the box. I mean, 3 power plays in a game isn't a whole lot, but you know, when they score on all 3 of them, it looks pretty bad. So, you know, they're not going to play another team like Minnesota this year. So it'll be more interesting when they play Duluth this weekend. They're missing 2 girls from there to the Olympics. UND's missing 3. If they could get Megan Defoe back, that would help their team speed. They didn't have a lot of it this weekend.
And with those 2 losses, there's not a lot of room for error right now in the pairwise. I think you mentioned in one of your postings that right now they're sitting in a tie for 8th in the pairwise. So this weekend is a big weekend for UND women's hockey.
It's huge because Duluth is a team that's going to help their RPI because they're a decent team and they have a decent record. And this could go a long way into determining whether they're going to make the tournament or not as an at-large team. Of course, this team actually has the ability to win the postseason title, I think, and get an auto bid that way because they're going to be at full strength for that tournament, and we've already seen they can beat anyone when they're at full strength.
And it can be an argument made, obviously, but Coach Adolski knew going in that he was going to be without these players when he recruited them, for that matter.
Yeah, and I think when you look at the season as a whole, you would rather have them for the 4 months and let them go for the month than not have them at all.
Next, we'll turn to men's basketball on the road at Eastern Washington and Portland State. And Paul was with them, got a good win on Thursday, and had a chance to win on Saturday.
Yeah, getting a road split, not the end of the world, but I think probably this basketball team feels that they had a great opportunity on Saturday to walk out of Pacific Northwest with 2 wins. They had a lead at the half. Wasn't a perfectly played first half, but they managed to get a lead at the half against Portland State. And just weren't able to hold it. Got off to kind of a slow start in the second half and kind of had to work their way back after that slow start and had a chance to tie inside the final seconds. And maybe just a little bit of anxiousness, or they were a little unaware of the clock and the situation. Didn't probably get the shot that they wanted. Had a chance to go in for Aaron Anderson. Didn't get it to go to win the game. But, you know, I think North Dakota will definitely take that win against Eastern Washington on Thursday. They really played a solid game defensively and really showed some flashes of some unbelievable acrobatics and some showtime as well with their offensive skills on the road. And that was definitely a fun win for them. But now another road test looms for this UND men's team.
How about that game, first of all, Thursday with Weber State? And I think Coach Jones told me, he said, well, if our guys aren't ready for a fist fight for 40 minutes, we're not going to be in the game.
Well, Weber State might come in with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder. The way they made Sports Center. Sacramento State dropped them with a 75-footer by Dylan Garrity. It was a wild finish to that game. I believe 3 technicals in the final 15 seconds of overtime. 0.7 seconds, a 3-pointer from Weber State. Sacramento State counters with 3/4 length of the court shot.
And when they came here, they were coming off a big loss to Northern Colorado, too, weren't they? So
yeah, exactly. It's set up real nicely.
Thank you.
You know, the reality of it is that this conference, it's so difficult to pick up road wins. You look at Northern Colorado this past weekend, they both lost at Portland State and Eastern Washington. So North Dakota got 1 of 2, had a great chance at 2, but you got to try pick one up. Now I think it's probably more way this conference is kind of condensing itself record-wise. boy, you have to find one this weekend. And if you can find two, that much better, but it's definitely going to be a tough one on Thursday.
Women's basketball team gets to stay home against the same opponents. Tom, they're spreading it around quite well, that team, and they're winning the games that they should win.
Yeah, and for a first place team, all of a sudden you get a player at the level of Michaela Dyer who comes in and can give you, some scoring inside and outside, and you were already doing just fine, and then all of a sudden you get kind of a gift like that to come along. And it's just solidified their team, added a new element, and they were really impressive this weekend.
Are we seeing just the tip of the proverbial iceberg with her?
I think so. I think she's getting more and more comfortable in that, when a scorer like that starts to get comfortable, somebody who can get to the free throw line a lot, I think that's going to really help that team.
I think teams, especially, most of the Big Sky teams probably get tired of just the overwhelming size that we bring on the interior. It wears on you. I mean, you may have one talented big player if you're another Big Sky school, but you're going to have to sub her and give her a breather every now and then, and North Dakota can just keep going to the well with Evers and Wall, and then you have a player that plays big despite her size, and Maya Lloyd. So it wears on teams after a while, and we've seen that this season.
I think it was Maddie Buck. Was it the Thursday game? She had 1 point, or was it Saturday? 1 point at halftime, and then pours in 16. You got somebody like that can almost turn it on and off. That's something that you don't see every day too.
She's a stat filler. You talk about Evers and Wall, and then you don't even mention you got Maddie Buck here on the boards, and Lloyd, and guards that are long and can rebound too. So they make up for some deficiencies in other areas by just out rebounding people.
At home, 2 games they should win, right?
This is almost the first time they've been fully healthy too, or with Dyer and with Lloyd back in the lineup. So we haven't really seen them with the full team until recently.
And certainly this weekend going to be huge for this women's team. They got to keep this momentum and hold serve at home over 2 teams that they have a significant gap on right now as far as record, and they got to take care of business. It starts Thursday night, and then I think it's going to be real interesting to see the finish, because there's going to be that opportunity possibly for hosting the Big Sky Conference women's basketball tournament at the end of the season. So that little carrot's dangling out there, and it will get bigger as we get further along in the schedule.
Certainly, we had all the answers there, didn't we?